Okay, so raise your hand if you've ever seen the movie E.T. Okay, that's good, because I haven't. But the idea of extraterrestrial life, or ET life, is something that I'm sure all of us have contemplated at least some point in our lives. As for me, I've been fascinated with the idea of ET life ever since I was a child. And after countless hours of research on the topic, I've come to the conclusion that our appeal to the idea of ET life originates from a few major incidents in the 20th century. Today, I'll be covering the first widely covered sighting of a UFO, the Roswell incident, and the creation of crop circles. To start things off, the first widely covered ET incident was uncovered by Kenneth Arnold. According to Brad Steiger, an American sci-fi author, on June 24th, 1947, Kenneth Arnold, a businessman and amateur pilot, lifted off from his personal airplane from Chehalis, Washington. After being in the air for just a couple of minutes, he saw a bright white flash on the reflection of his plane. And after looking outside, he saw that there was a line of saucer-like objects going towards the water. At first he thought they were jets, but then he saw that they didn't have any tails and that they're going at over 1,200 miles per hour. After being reported to higher authorities, the aftermath of this caused nationwide mayhem, as papers and magazines all throughout the nation covered this incident with headlines reading something like, "The flying saucers are real." And after investigation, the government actually deemed that he was actually seeing a mirage, which most people did not believe. This first sighting was the first to kick off the craze in the 20th century of UFOs, but only 8 days after this came the most infamous incident of all, the Roswell incident. On July 2nd, 1947, a flying saucer debris was discovered just north of Roswell, New Mexico by a man named William Brazel. In this wreckage, he found tin foil, sticks, and rubber strips. After this was reported, the government deemed this as a weather balloon wreckage. After this explanation, the case was closed for around 30 years, and everyone forgot about it. That is until 1979, when the investigation was reopened. According to Scott Tribble, author of the Roswell incident, in 1979, a former base intelligence officer near Roswell named Jesse Marcel reopened the wound in a National Enquirer interview. In this interview, Marcel claims that the weather balloon wreckage wasn't actually weather balloon wreckage, and instead it was from something or someone otherworldly. He supports this by claiming that there was alien markings on the wreckage, and after the interview, others came out with their own stories, some claiming to even see alien bodies at the site of the wreckage. The government, of course, denied these accusations, but even more ET speculation stemmed from this. And this is until June 24th, 1997, the 50th anniversary of the very first sighting, where the US government had to give their full explanation of the Roswell incident, responding to claims that they were covering up some info. In their statement, they stated that the weather balloon was actually a device used to spy on the Soviets, and for obvious reasons, they couldn't disclose this at the time. They also claimed that the alien bodies were dummies, and since this was the very last they had to comment on the situation, it was one that the public had to accept, though there are conspirators to this day that think they are still covering things up. And now that I'm done talking about the most famous incidents, I will now talk about crop circles. So crop circles can be traced back thousands of years, but have only been widely reported in the 80s. So what is a crop circle? So a crop circle are large perfect circles formed overnight. And the circles formed here actually don't kill the crops, but rather they flatten them. They're hundreds of feet in diameter, as this shot was taken hundreds of feet up in the air. And the design in the circles over the years became more and more complex. There are many theories as to how these are formed. Of course, ET life is one of those. It is said that the patterns inside the circles are ways for aliens to communicate with us. And other speculated causes are insects, lightning, hoaxers, which unfortunately has been proven to be true in some instances, but aliens remain to be the most popular. So to wrap things up, whether you believe in aliens or not, you'd have to admit that they're amusing to say the least. Kenneth Arnold's incident, the Roswell incident, and crop circle creations are to be attributed to this fascination. And these encounters are the roots of our present-day knowledge of extraterrestrial life. So if you look up in the sky, it may be a bird, it may be a plane, or it may be a flying saucer. Thank you.